talk. Hello, I'm Haley, and this is Taya, and welcome to Haley and Taya Rip Up Supernatural and Start Over, and also sometimes talk about other stuff, a podcast.
Also known as HATRUSA, and today we are talking about Season 2, Episode 13, Houses of the Holy. It originally aired on February 1st, 2007, and was written by Sarah Gamble, who has written many others, including Dead in the Water, Faith, Nightmare, and have we seen Salvation yet? We have not seen Salvation yet.
Yes, we have. It was in Season 1.
We have?
Yes, it has a 7.
Oh, oops. I think I was looking at it and my brain was like, the first 4. That sounds about right.
So, before we start, because I always do our content warnings before we even do the summary, today's episode has 2 content warnings. One for mention of predatory behavior towards children, I guess, and also an on-screen assault. The on-screen assault happens quite a bit into the episode. It's almost at the end, like 10 minutes left. And the predatory behavior towards a child is within an email, and nothing ever happens of it, but it's implied that perhaps it's happened before, ?
It's a little unclear.
Yeah. And we will obviously be discussing those in the episode today. So, here's the dilly. I didn't feel like writing a whole summary because I got lazy, but I think I'm going to do a pretty good job. So we're going to just go right into it, okay? Ready?
I'm just going to time you.
All right. So we enter on a scantily dressed woman watching TV and smoking a cigarette. We are in Rhode Island. Providence, I believe. She flips through the TV and finds a Jesus channel. She flips past, but it changes back by itself, and then the whole house started freaking out. She is greeted by a huge white glowing thing. Then we cut to a mental hospital, where Sam is pretending to be an attending nurse. We are told via his conversation with her, the girl who later we find out her name is Gloria, that the white glow was supposedly an angel who told her to stab a man, effectively killing him. She was put in here due to the fact that people merely think she is crazy, and now I'm going to go off script. We go back to the motel room. Dean is laying in a vibrating bed, and he's like, Sam, this is great. And Sam's like, what the fuck? Here we are told that Sam is keeping Dean, like, confined because of the fact that he is, all over the news as a bank robber. They go to investigate the house of the guy who was stabbed, and Sam's like, I don't know, Dean, she says it's an angel, and Dean's like, fucking no, it's not. Another murder happens, and then they find out, they break in, nope, hold on, okay. They investigate the guy who was killed's house, and they go into the basement, and they find a press-on nail. They say it's a real fingernail, but it looks like a fucking press-on nail. And then they dig a little bit, and they find a skeleton, and they're like, uh-oh, murder. Sam then, does some research and is like, there's 3 missing girls from the local college. And Dean's like, he's a freak. And then another murder happens, and they go to that guy's house, and they look on his computer, and they find an email thread after hacking in between him and a 13-year-old girl who he was planning on meeting up with that day, but obviously he can't because he was killed by another person who was approached by an angel. After that, they go to the church because they also find out that they went to the same church, ? The 2 guys who are dead. They talk to the priest there, and the priest is like, yes, things are crazy here right now. And then he talks about how there was a priest who died on the front steps of the church a while ago. He was shot, and Dean is like, well, obviously that's our guy, and Sam's like, no, I still think it's an angel. They go to the crypt to look at the grave, and before Dean can be like, see, Sam, it's not anything, Sam gets approached by the angel and is like, holy shit, Dean, I saw an angel. And Dean is like, no, you didn't, you saw a ghost. And Sam's like, no, I saw an angel. We get some sad dialogue about why Dean doesn't believe in angels, and Sam being like, no, it's an angel, Dean, please, it's an angel, Dean, it's an angel. They say there's only one way to find out whether it's an angel or a ghost, and they say that they're going to do a seance. They go to do the seance, but then when they're leaving the convenience store where they bought stuff to do a seance, Sam sees the guy who he's supposed to attack because he's going to do something bad. But Dean doesn't let him and is like, go do the seance, I've got this. Sam gets caught doing the seance by the priest, and he's like, I can explain, and then he's like, no, I can't actually. This is a seance, and it's because... But then before he can finish, he says to the priest, hey, guy, no, he doesn't. He doesn't say anything. I lied. The ghost shows up. Well, at first he, like, is the glow, but then he fades, and it's, the priest is like, is that an angel? And Sam's like, no, it's Father Gregory. And it is. And Father Gregory's like, I'm an angel. And Father Priest Man Reynolds, his name is Reynolds, Father Reynolds is like, no, you're not a ghost, silly. But then he gets to do the final rites that he didn't get to do to him when he was alive, and they make him go away, and they're like, you can't just kill people because you feel like it, and you think you're doing God's work, because you're not doing God's work, because human beings shouldn't kill. Meanwhile, with Dean, he's still chasing... back a little bit. Dean is following the guy while this is happening, and he, like, is with a girl. He's, like, on a date or something, but then he's like, sorry, I'm just nervous, and at first, like, you think he's going to sexually assault her, but then he doesn't. He just, like, hits her, and she's like, what the fuck, and tries to get out, but then he locks the door and, like, pulls out a gun, and he's like, I've just never done this before, and you're like, holy shit.
It's like a razor blade.
Oh, it was a razor blade?
Uh-huh.
It made a gun sound, I thought. It probably sounded like metal, and I was just like, okay, it's a gun. But, so the implication is he was going to kill her, obviously. But then Dean gets there and, like, interrupts it and tells her to call 911, and he chases him, and then, like, there's a car crash, and he gets impaled by a pole that goes through the windshield of his car, and Dean's like, holy shit. When they reconvene at the motel, Sam is like, Dean, you were right. Higher power doesn't exist, maybe, but I really need it to because I'm depressed. He doesn't say that, but we all know it. And Dean is like, actually, Sam, I think I just saw God's work, actually. And then the episode ends.
Okay, that took you 5.5 minutes.
Okay.
At some point I was wondering, did Haley mention them finding a body in the basement? And I straight up can't remember.
I did mention the basement.
Cool.
It wasn't, like, perfect chronological, but I did mention it.
No.
I think the chaos is really fun.
Yeah, it's understandable. And followable.
Yeah. So, also,
cool.
Today's death count, everybody, is, like, I don't know, 10-ish. Because there's
Maybe.
two on screen, but technically 3 if you count the ghost. And also I've added a few extra to count for the missing girls. The Wikipedia says that the deaths are Carl Gully, who is the guy that Gloria, was that her name? Yeah, the guy that Gloria killed. And then several unnamed people killed by Gully. We know that there's at least 3 college girls who were, like, went missing. We don't know if they're dead. Then we know Frank is the guy who was stabbed in the doorway. And then Thomas Gregory is the priest, and he died. And then the car man dies on screen, and then the ghost dies on screen. So I'm saying 10.
Yes.
And I'm forgetting to breathe a lot. I'm just going
Please
right now.
Please remember to breathe.
I
Breathing
will.
is important.
So now it's time for my notes.
Yes.
Of which there are a few that have talking points, I think, in my opinion, today.
Okay, cool.
So my first note is that I love the peak of the bra through that shirt. So funny. They really were like, we need to let everybody know that this woman
Gloria
is
in her
not
first
a...
scene.
Yeah. They were like, we need to know people to know that this woman is not a good Christian woman, and by the way we're going to do that is by showing that she's wearing a lacy little bra under her skimpy cut shirt. And it was like, okay, all right, sure. My next note is when the God Man starts talking to you through the TV screen. Cool. Then I have that our first victim looks wicked familiar. I will look that up later. I did look that up. She wasn't anything for me. She was in Once Upon a Time in Wonderland, but I haven't watched Once Upon a Time in Wonderland yet.
Did anyone watch Once Upon a Time in Wonderland?
I don't know, but I'm gonna, like,
I'm
going
did,
to.
Well, everyone was excited because,
What's his face was in it, yeah.
Sebastian Stan was,
the White Rabbit. No.
No.
The Mad Hatter.
He was the Mad Hatter.
Yeah.
But if I remember right, I don't know if he was in Once Upon a Time in Wonderland.
I know he was in Once Upon a Time. I can tell you that for sure.
I don't think he was in Once Upon a Time in Wonderland.
That's really
though.
funny. But yeah, I mean,
Hold on,
she
I'm
was
looking.
so her actress is Heather Dorkson, and she is in a lot of things. Like she has a quite a bit of a stack here. She does some voice actor work. She was a character in the English dub of fucking Death Note, so that's cool.
Oh.
I'm sure Macy would know who that is, but I don't know who this woman is. Anyway, apparently it's Lights X. Okay. Anyway,
Who cares?
who cares? Then I have, is this the pudding episode? Note, it was not the pudding episode.
It wasn't.
I was very excited. It was not the pudding episode. Then I have they made this girl look so much different with just a change of hair part and style and lack of makeup. I'm impressed. Because obviously they were like, we have to make her look different than she was when she first showed up. Because at first,
I didn't recognize her.
yeah. Taya was like, is that the same woman? And I was like, yeah, her eyes are the same. And we were just like, they changed her this and her this and her this.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like pretty interesting. We also don't know how much of a time difference was between like the first
That was
scene.
not clear at all.
No, we have no idea like if this has been happening concurrently. Like we don't know. We just know that it's subsequent, and the Wikipedia on Gloria's page says Sam Winchester visits her shortly after. How shortly? An hour? 2 days? A week? A month? We don't know. My next note is, okay, LG flip phone, and that's in reference to Dean Winchester while he is laying on the hotel bed that is massaging him. The motel bed, sorry. He is on a little LG flip phone, and I was obsessed. It was funny. And then I have really obsessed with Dean laying on a vibrating hotel bed listening to music with earbuds in. It was just, like, really good. Vibes. They said the name of the show, thanks, except I meant to say show, but I
Great.
did write shower. So that's fun. My next one is a quote from the show. When angels are brought up, and Dean is like, Sam, those aren't real. And Sam's like, there's more lore about angels than any creature, like most of the creatures that we talk about, or like hunt.
There's 10 times more lore than any
Yes.
creature. And I was
And-
like,
And then Dean was like, there's lore about unicorns too, Sam, but they're not real. And Sam was like, wait, there's
Yeah.
no such thing as unicorns? And I just, it was funny. I liked it. But, like, it was just I liked it. Comedy gold. Dean be like, I don't believe in angels. They're fake, and I've never seen one. And then he censored. That's what I wrote. Because while we were recording the episode, mentioned that I think that this episode is probably Destiel fodder, like, for all those motherfuckers out there who are like, wow, Destiel's canon, which it's not, but we're not going to get into that.
We'll get into that in
We'll get
8
into that in
years.
8,000 years.
We're gonna lose our 12 our 8 people who listen because we said that Destiel isn't canon. Here's the thing. I was so into Destiel. I so badly wanted it to happen, but we gotta acknowledge the fact that it didn't.
We
guys.
cannot give them that. Come on, guys. You're stronger
We
than
have
this.
to have higher standards.
There's probably better. Go watch Our Flag Means Death. Like, there's some gays in there. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Ask for better. Do not settle. Anyway. This one is conversation. Still driving baby with the same plates. Okay. I
Oh my
know
God.
Taya either mentioned this in last week's episode or just in the commentary. We don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
But holy shit. They are now both wanted criminals. And they're still driving this very notable car with the same license plates?
Yeah.
Those are trackable, guys.
It's the same license plates, and it's like you do not see that kind of car. Even back in 2007, you would not see that kind of car very often. It's a very, like, identifiable, distinct car. as sad as it is, I think they needed to have to dump Baby at some point in this show. I think they had to dump the car.
Like,
whether that means getting rid of her entirely or just like leaving her with Bobby for a while and changing the plates. Like they need to get
change
I
the
think
plates.
I said
Maybe
they needed to get a
paint
Toyota
job?
Prius.
Oh my god, a Toyota Prius.
Literally, like,
No,
they
I
need
think,
to find,
you know
like,
what I think?
a common random car.
Okay, that's fair, because I guess it would have to be common. But I think it would be funny if the Winchesters drove one of those cube cars.
No, I'm thinking, like, one of the most common cars you can find in, like, one of the most common colors. I'm thinking that they should have to switch it up every once in a while. Probably have to keep an eye on what the gas mileage is, but I also think it would be very funny if at one point, just to keep people off their trail, they're driving a minivan.
Right.
Fuck it. For a few hundred miles, they're in a minivan.
That's a really important thing for our rewrite, is that the Winchesters do have to switch cars. And I think that a few times they need to drive a little bit of a funny car, like maybe a little punch buggy. I don't know.
Yeah.
Mix it up a little bit. Winchesters, come on, have some fun.
For the love of God.
Have some fun.
Also for just safety. That's just a safety precaution. You cannot drive a super distinct car at all times when the FBI is looking for you.
Yeah. Also, like, are you even getting it inspected? How are you not getting pulled over frequently?
I assume they just fake the stickers.
Oh, that's probably true, huh? They fake everything else.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
You're so right.
Happy to help.
Then I wrote that I'm really into the comedy this episode, I have to admit. I don't remember why. No, I do remember. It was when, they get to the house of the guy, the first guy who was killed. And Dean points out that there's like a Christmas angel like window thing on the porch, and he's like, "Look, I think I found our sign." And I was like, "Okay, Dean. All right, Dean. I see you." OMG, skeleton in a basement moments. We love to see it. Everybody knows how much I love a skeleton in a basement. That's all. Then I have did the bottom of that bottle break before anything else?
It was so weird. I think it did.
There was the scene. Would you like to describe the scene?
So we have another character who is, I don't know.
His name's Zach.
What we would call it. Yeah, his name's Zach, but like one of those, like, he's the town drunk, so it's kind of the similar vibe as Gloria earlier, like,
who was a prostitute.
Like a not like a true Christian TM.
A morally kempt person in the Christian faith.
Yeah, and he's like in bed getting drunk, and the quote unquote angel visits him, and everything starts shaking because like the lights are flickering, everything is shaking, and we get a shot of his bed, of the table next to his bed, and there's a bunch of like bottles of alcohol there, and so they're shaking, and one of the bottles, the bottom breaks and liquid spills out, which isn't how bottles work.
Unless that's like a thing, like,
I don't think it is.
I'm gonna Google bottle breaking from bottom.
I just don't think it was a thing.
How to break
like
the bottom out of a bottle.
Everything else broke when it fell to the ground, but that one just was like, it went from shaking to the bottom shattered. Or something, because I actually assume it was probably filled with water, but it came out of the bottom, which was very strange. It was a really weird moment for me. It's just very confused by what was happening. Find anything interesting?
I don't know, I'm watching a video from 2009 right now, but that's like,
Great.
That's how to break the bottom out of a bottle by hand. I want to see one like...
I have to, well, because have you ever, like, seen the bottom of a bottle? That part's usually pretty thick.
Yeah. Bottom of glass bottle breaking from vibration?
I don't think you're going to find this, Haley. I hate to break it to you. I do not think you're going to find it.
I'm not finding anything. I'm not finding anything.
Mm-hmm.
So that's funny. Anyway.
So maybe we should move on.
Yeah, perhaps. My next note is, okay, so I have figured it out. It's totally a murder victim ghost who is posing as an angel to get bad killers killed, right? I was wrong.
Oh, well.
Then I have...
technically he was murdered.
Oh my god, you're so right. So I was right.
But, like, not in the way you were thinking.
Yeah, no, I thought it was one of the victims of the guy who had a skeleton in his basement. which I think we already did that. We
You probably have.
No, we did, because I liked that episode. Do you remember? It was like the reflection.
Oh, okay.
Do you remember?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
My next note is, pedophile. We don't like that. I also really liked how disgusted Sam was by it. Like, it was an appropriate reaction to have. Because I think at first Dean was
Bars on the floor.
Yeah. Dean was like, he's just talking to some lady, and Sam was like, a 13-year-old lady, Dean.
I don't think Dean knew.
No, he didn't.
Because Dean immediately says, like, I don't remember what he says. He says something.
But he was like, oh,
similar
he's a freak.
To Sam's reaction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was just like, I don't know. I thought it was pretty good. Not that.
Do you want to explain yourself out of this one?
No. Anyway, we're gonna move on from that. Thanks. Oh god, I almost knocked over my hydro flask. My next note is that priest just said butt.
Clearly a really important part of this episode.
Then I have that this church scene must be shot by a child, because there were a lot of really weird, like, up angles.
There was a lot of weird cuts and close-ups, but there were definitely a lot of angles where it was like you were not, instead of being like straight, it was like slightly below them looking up. And it was almost a little bit sinister at times.
Right.
Like it was supposed to imply something negative about the priest, but the priest is just a guy.
Yeah, he was just a guy.
So I don't know if we were supposed to suspect him at any point, but like the only thing that made him suspicious was that angle.
Yeah.
Like, it was a very strange camera choice. There were a few other times
this
in
episode
here where
was
there were some interesting camera choices.
They were like, we're gonna experiment with our camera angles. And
but
I was like,
weird way,
I was like,
sometimes
guys,
they didn't.
I was like, guys, just because we have the word angel in our title, well, no, it's not even in the title. Guys, just because we have angels in our episode does not mean we have to wordplay and play with angles as well. Like, we don't have to do it. And my next note is Michael, Dean's angel self, Michael, because there's a painting of the Archangel Michael on the wall.
And they have a little tiny conversation about it.
They have a brief conversation about it, and Taya and I were like, oh my gosh, foreshadowing? But, like, no, not really.
Like, there's something on the Wikipedia page that, like, says that Sam, like, gestures when he says, is that a painting of the Archangel Michael? He gestures, and it kind of seems like he could be gesturing at Dean. But I don't know if that
It's not strong enough.
It's not strong enough for me to think it was an intentional choice on the director's part, and I do not think Sam and Dean, I do not know if Jared and Jensen would have known at this point that that's where the story was going. So since it does not seem strong enough for me to say that that was a moment, like an intentional moment.
I think it would be really funny, though, if the directors were like, all right, Jared, we need you to motion in this direction at the painting, and Jensen, you are going to be standing right beside him. And they're just like, okay, weird.
I mean,
okay.
It's possible. It's possible that that's exactly what they told them, but I don't think it's strong enough to be like, yes, this was an intentional foreshadowing.
I also don't think that they're smart enough to do that. Sorry.
I also don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I don't know if the creators for this episode were smart enough for that. I just don't know.
Like, I'm sorry, guys, but I just don't believe in you. Anyway.
You guys haven't made enough good episodes.
My next note is, wait, is it not a murder victim ghost? It's the ghost of a priest? And then there's a couple exclamation points and question marks. The answer was yes. And my next one is, in brackets, I have talk about the questions we used to ask as kids during CCD about confession. So, I don't know if I've talked about this before on pod, but I was raised religious. I went to church on Sundays for not like every Sunday, but like sometimes. Usually my mom had to bribe me with donuts, so obviously I didn't care for it all that much. But I went to CCD from the age of like 6 to like 13. I did a lot of CCD, which I don't know what that stands for, but it's Sunday school, right? And I remember when we got to the age where confession was going to be a thing, we had the priest guy. Well, first, okay, no, hold on, rewind. they talk about, this is at the church, they're like talking about confession, and it's hinted, and I can't remember if it is explicit or implicit, that the angel ghost who thinks he's an angel, dead priest, only knows the things that he knows about the people who he has killed because they like admit it to him in confession. Okay? So back to my story. When what age do you do confession? I don't even remember. Was I 12? How old is
I don't know.
How old is first confession?
I'll also say,
oh my god,
you do that.
7.
7? I would not say it's I would say
Second grade.
It's implicit, not explicit, that it's
yeah.
That's how he knew it. I would not. The show did not outright say it. It was a little confusing for some of the reviewers that I saw.
So when confession was first like in swing, which was according to Google, like second grade is the first confession. Our priest came in to talk to our CCD class about it, and how like anything you say at confession will not be told to anybody, not your parents, not anybody, not the law. And all of us 8-year-olds were like, I'm sorry, did you say not the law? And he was like, correct, we cannot tell anybody. It's like we are under oath as like members of the priesthood and blah 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 religion. It's between you and God or whatever, I don't know. But all of us literal children were sitting there and we were like, okay, but what if somebody tells you that they killed somebody? Like, what do you do? And the priest was just like, well, we can't tell anybody. It's not allowed. And we were like, well, isn't that kind of wrong? Shouldn't you tell people that, like, somebody told you that they're killing people? Isn't that kind of important to, like, tell people? Isn't that important, Mr. Father, sir? And, like, I'm just obsessed with the fact that, like, this is something that's covered in this episode, and it's something that I, as a child, was very, like, what the fuck? Why is this a thing? And you know what? I'm 23 years old, and I still don't understand why it's a thing. Because I'm sorry, but shouldn't you tell somebody? Like, shouldn't you tell it? Huh?
Probably should. Yeah.
I just feel like probably you should tell people. Like, I don't know, do you think John Wayne Gacy went to church and, like, said, hey, I kill children? And, like, the priest just had to be like, you are forgiven, and, like, move on with his life?
I'm not gonna say it's like...
I need to know.
I feel like most... I don't want to give credit or anything. I feel like most people would just lie and not say it. Not even lie, just, like, not say anything about it. But it does bring into question, which I think a lot of people question, is, like, if you do hear something that is a crime hurting other people, shouldn't you do something about it?
Right. Like, hear something, say something, or whatever.
Yeah, I do not know much about, like
I know
the Catholic Church.
I know in New Hampshire, like, everybody's a mandated reporter, and also I'm, like, a child care professional, so I'm like a double mandated reporter. But but holy shit, I just cannot imagine.
Does that mean that people... Well, how would that work in... I guess because it's a church, are you just, like... Everyone in New Hampshire is a mandated reporter except for priests?
Right? Like, that's my question.
I guess that's probably something you could look up.
I'm going to Google it right now. Why can't priests tell if someone says they killed someone?
I'm sure that there are churches out there where they do
say... Oh my god!
Like...
I found a news story.
From when?
From abcnews.go.com from 2001. The article title is Priest Kept Secret of Murderer. And it's a murderer walked out of prison because under Roman Catholic law, it is forbidden for a priest to disclose information under any circumstances obtained in the form of religious confession. If a priest breaks what's called the sacred seal of confession, he will be subject to excommunication from the church.
Okay, but does that mean that the murderer gets to go free?
Yeah. I think so.
But we're not a Christian country.
No.
Hypothetically. So it shouldn't matter if the priest... Like, that doesn't make that evidence or testimony, like, invalid. Just because...
Oh my god, help.
I don't know.
The priest guy who did it, I'm skimming this article, but the end of the article says, and Toll says he only has one judge, God.
God. Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna be real with you. One of the 10 Commandments, isn't it, like, thou shalt not kill?
Yes,
like,
they literally say that in the episode.
Like, so, like, even if, like, the whole point of confession is, like, to confess your sins, that's a big one.
Right,
that's
like,
a big one.
Like,
I don't know if I could just walk out of the church and be like, I heard someone killed someone today and I feel great.
Right.
Like,
and
what?
It's also so funny that confession starts in 2nd grade, because I shit you not, I remember...
That's too young.
I remember, like, having to think of things to say at my first confession and being like, oh, geez, like, what have I done? And I was just, like, in the little confession booth and I was like, sometimes I don't like my parents... And I've said a swear before.
Oh, no.
Like,
I'm sure that for some people, confession gives them, like, a lot of peace of mind. I totally understand that. I think that's fine. But I also think it puts, religious figures already have a very... My dog will not shut up, and this is a kind of serious conversation. It's like they're already in a pretty unique position of power over people,
right?
You know, as like a more direct voice to like the religious figures they believe in. So like also putting in like, oh well, and also they know all the secrets you've ever told them.
Right. I guess what it comes down to for all those priests out there is like, what do you care more about, being in the priesthood or saving the lives of fellow human beings? I don't know.
And I feel like if you are a good person, I'm gonna be honest, I feel like if you are truly a good person who really follows, like, what, like, a lot of the stuff in the Bible from, like, the little I know about it, if you heard confessions of some crimes, I'm gonna be honest, some crimes...
Right,
like,
right.
if someone was like, I stole something, I'd be like, whatever. However, if you're hearing confessions of murder, I think if you're a good person, that's probably not going to be something that...
Right, I feel like maybe we're going to get a new priest.
Yeah, I don't know. It's...
Anyway, this has been my tangent about the Roman Catholic Church.
We'll probably have more of those as the show goes on, so...
And again, like, this is coming from me who was raised Catholic. So, my opinions are valid, and nobody can come for me. Sorry. My next note... my next note is Sam prays every day.
I forgot about that already.
Religious Sam moments. Because Dina's
I
like,
wish
wow.
they'd shown that at any point.
Dina's like, wow, can you imagine people who pray every day? And Sam is like, I do. And Dean was like, wow, the things you learn about a person.
It was literally so... And I understand Dean has a thing about religion. Like, you know, he has... I don't want to say... I guess trauma.
Does he have religious trauma?
Well, because his whole thing in this is that his mom told him that angels would be watching over them or something,
and then she was killed.
Died. So, like, I think that's, like, I do know people who that was a sticking point for them in religion, right? Like, someone that they cared for, like, they prayed and prayed and prayed, and that person died, and that really tested their faith, and sometimes that they came out of it no longer believing in whatever God they previously believed in.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying Dean is invalid. It's just, like, it was the most, like, surreal, like, his Sam going, like, yeah, I believe in angels, and I pray to God, I believe in that, and Dean is just, like, so betrayed.
It's really funny.
I think it's a moment that just really shows, like, how incapable Dean currently is of, like...
empathy.
not even empathy, but like he does not know how
Nuance?
to express or control his own emotions
Right.
in any way.
He is literally
like
so funny.
he's so messed up, and the show doesn't do a great job of ever exploring that. And they don't ever show Sam being particularly religious. I don't know if we ever really get to see him pray unless he is specifically praying to like Cass, asking Cass for help when Cass is like ignoring him or something.
Right. And speaking of
so
Cass,
like I wish
speaking of Cass,
yes.
this was also something I mentioned while watching the episode singular. I was like, is this fodder for like the people who ship like Sam and Cassiel? Because I don't know if we've talked about it on show before, but Taya and I cannot grasp that ship. Like, absolutely ship what you want, but like,
I think it ends up doing the opposite because I remember seeing gift sets of, because there is an episode where Sam is praying for Cass, asking Cass to like come help them with whatever the issue is, and he is not getting any response. And then Dean asks like once. He's like, "Hey, Cass," and Cass just shows up. So I think Sam being such a strong believer and Cass still only coming for Dean.
Hey, do you want to rephrase that?
Jesus. I am going to need to end this call now. I'm gonna go, actually. I can't be here anymore.
No.
I'm gonna go. You can finish this episode
Cass
alone.
only comes for Dean. Anyway, then we have my next note. Dean, I saw an angel. And then I have, what is these angles right now? That's not a proper sentence, but that's okay. Then I have, are we going to use a Ouija board in a church? Which I wish they had.
I fucking wish.
Because my sometimes I do subnotes, and my subnote is, oh my god, hold on. Rewind, I skipped a note. Before Dean, I saw an angel. I have, yo, Sammy just got preyed on by an angel. Oh my god, he's dead. Then I have the Ouija board thing. And I have a subnote that says, we've already proven that in universe, Ouija boards are a viable way to contact spirits. Because Sam used one to contact Dean when he was, like, out of body in the pilot of this season.
Yes.
But then we went for a seance, like, okay, I guess. They needed Sam to flex.
I just think it would have been so much funnier if they did.
It just would have been so much funnier if they did a Ouija board.
It would have been so much funnier. Especially when the priest comes in after Father Reynolds or whatever. I think that would have been so funny if he walked in and instead of just like the normal seance stuff set up, like he's sitting there with a Ouija board.
So funny. Yeah. Then I have a question. Is there a little bit of possession happening? Sam seems to be acting
That was never made clear.
No, it was never made clear. I wrote that Sam seems to be acting oddly out of character, even despite his belief in angels. I'd like to talk about it. Because as soon as, like, the angel comes to him and, like, says whatever, Sam is like, okay, I have to drop everything and do this. And it was the same for the other two.
It was the same for the other two who were never explicitly said to be religious.
Right. And I guess, like, you could attest that to, like, the fact that, I don't even know. I'm brain dead. I think that it was a little bit out of character. I'm sorry. I just think it was out of character.
Especially since Sam has never been stated to be religious before this episode.
My next note is Dean is funny. That's it. I don't remember why I said that, but he is funny. Next note is help, help, help. The priest walking in on Sam performing a seance.
That was
literally loved that scene. Just Sam turning and going, and the priest going, what are you doing? And Sam was like, I can explain. Actually, no, I can't. Like, oh my god.
Pretty good.
Then I have, okay, it is the dead priest. He thinks he's an angel now just because he is dead. Priests are so funny.
Great way to word that one.
Priests are so funny. My next note is Archangel Raphael. We meet him later. Because we do.
Great.
My next note was gonna say that maybe the appearance of ghosts and supernatural is dependent on how present the spirit is in. That is horribly worded, but basically we were talking about how spirit lore in Supernatural is a little bit wonky, as with most lore in Supernatural, but specifically with ghosts, because ghosts are the things that I care about the most and that rhymes a little bit. But, like, we've had ghosts that show up as a little bit transparent. We've had ghosts who are completely opaque. We've had ghosts who show up with their mortal injuries that are the reason, I guess, lethal injuries?
Yeah.
Like, we've had all these different things, and this ghost was a very, like, fleshy-looking ghost with, like, a little bit of, like, a glowy light. But, and I was like, okay, well, maybe you could argue that, like, because he thinks he's an angel, that's why he's all glowy and, like, pretty. But then I was like, well, no, I don't think that Supernatural is smart enough to think about that. I think they just do whatever they want, and I don't think there is any rhyme or reason behind it. That's my hot take.
Yeah, I don't feel like doing a lore library today because, frankly, like Kaylee said, Supernatural isn't good about keeping consistent generally, but especially not with their spirits. We'll talk about it later, I guess, or we can talk about it now, but this particular spirit is, I don't know what to call it. No, I was going to say this particular spirit passes on just after being given his last rites, which I did like in the sense that earlier on when it's mentioned how he dies, Father Reynolds does say that he was not able to give last rites before he died, right? Like, cool. I think I think that was well done, you know? I just think that was fine. But it does, like, that isn't how it works for other ones. Like, was all he needed just, like, to, like, was that what he needed to pass on? Is that something that works for any ghost that strongly believes in, like, this particular sect of Christianity? It's just unclear. Like, it's also unclear, like, he presents usually as, not presents, but I don't know, he has that bright light behind him that makes everyone think he's an angel, right?
Yeah.
That he just kind of controls, and he isn't seemingly tied to one place, which was a little confusing. And he's never been stated to have visited these people before, so he's just kind of hanging around Providence, I guess, you know, just wherever he feels like being. And like we said, there seems to be a little bit of, like, possession, and we can only assume that he learned these things about the men that he has killed from confession. But that is an assumption. We don't know that for sure, right? Like, we aren't 100% on that. He might just know. So it's a little bit unclear, like, why can he make himself look like a bright light? Why did he pass on after last rites? Was that just him letting go? Because, like, they didn't do anything there. Like, I don't know. It was just, like, I liked this episode for the most part. But their spirit, I don't think their ghost lore is ever solid.
Right.
I don't think it, maybe at some point in the future it'll become more consistent, but, like, it has not been. I don't even know, is flashing lights and everything shaking, that's still an angel thing when they come back, isn't it? Like, the lights, at least, right?
I know that, like, isn't Missouri goes blind because of an angel, doesn't she? Isn't it Cass, specifically?
I think so. I honestly can't remember. I just remember her going blind. But yeah, it's not consistent at all. And it bothers me a bit because ghosts are their biggest thing, but, like, the only thing I've got is that people believe in different things, and the first Ghost Facers episode, at least, implied that people's belief is powerful. So maybe that's what I was saying during the commentary, that maybe that's why Last Rites worked for this ghost, because that is within his belief system.
Right.
But then it's, like, the question of, like, would other ghost things have worked for this one? Like, if they found that item or whatever that was remaining and burnt it with salt, would that have fixed it or no? I don't know. It was, whenever you dig too deep into, like, their long-term creatures, it starts to get sticky. Like, their demons, those are hard to parse. Yeah. Didn't do a great job with the, like, story Bible on those ones.
And that's why the best way to consume the show is at face value. However, we are not here for face value.
No.
We are here to rip it up and start over, and also sometimes talk about other stuff during this podcast.
Yeah, clearly, since we went on like a 10 or 15-minute discussion about confession.
Absolutely. Like what else is expected, okay? Fucking hell yeah. My next note is, oh, the priest got to give the dead priest his final rites. I liked that full circle, which Taya just talked about. Then I have the note that Sam and Dean should be allowed to be heavily depressed and show it more often.
We also had a long discussion about this.
Yeah, I understand that maybe that wouldn't make for fun television, but it would make for fantastic character building. Come on.
Sam says something about there's like so much evil in the world and he's drowning in it or something, and I just was like, they don't show them struggling mentally as so much as, well, at least for Sam, they don't show it so much as they will give him one-liners like that and imply that he is having a difficult time.
Yeah.
And I understand it's a TV show. They don't have, it's like that's the thing, right? Like, it is not a show about these characters' mental health. Mm-hmm. It's about them hunting monsters. But it would be nice to see an episode or just short scenes of them having difficulty doing things.
Yeah. And
taking care of themselves.
I mentioned that, like, the show, I think they brush it off because they're like, well, you see, Dean relies on alcohol.
Yeah.
So that's how you know that he is mentally unwell.
And I don't need it to be in your face, especially with the alcoholism. I don't need it to be heavy-handed.
Yeah.
But it isn't enough, I want to say. It feels, at least where we currently are, like he will sometimes be sad and have a beer. Mm-hmm. At least where we're currently at in the show, it is not really a problem. I wouldn't say it's great. I wouldn't say it's good. But it's not apparent that is a coping mechanism, I would say.
Right.
Because I think...
This is completely off topic, but I was just looking at my notebook here with my notes on it, and I realized something. Earlier in the show, I had decided I was going to make a tally mark for the number of kisses that Dean and Sam respectively earn, and I realized that they have not been kissed in quite some time.
Maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah. Sorry, continue.
I was just going to say that there's a way to do...
Depression,
and even something like alcoholism in a way that is subtle without outright making it so obvious that Dean is drinking to cope, in a way that does not also feel like it could be written off as not that, because I think that maybe our society has like an uncomfortable view of alcohol anyway, where people will be like, I had a bad week, it's time to break out the alcohol.
Right.
Where like that's not necessarily like the healthiest thing, but it's also not the worst if like sometimes to unwind you would like a beer or something. Like it's not the worst, but like there's probably healthier ways to go about it.
Right.
But so like I think that you could write off that as a lot of times, at least right now for Dean, as just like he just needs to wind down. I don't know. I don't think this show
in this episode, like there is like Sam Sam sees the angel and Dean pulls out his flask.
Yeah, that was...
And it's like, yeah. And then at the end of the episode, that comes back around because when Sam is like, I guess angels aren't real. And Dean pulls out his flask and gives it to him, and Sam takes a drink that time. But also, that's like being played for comedy.
That's played for comedy, and I actually, when he first took out his flask, I actually did not interpret it as that. I don't know where I got this idea that, like, sometimes after people in media, like, pass out or something, they will be given, like, just, like, a tiny bit of alcohol to, like, I don't even know, stabilize them? Like, wake them up more? I feel like have you never seen that?
No.
Oh, I feel like I've seen it in something where, like, a character, like...
That's so funny.
Passes out or gets, like, injured or something, and they just, like, take a shot afterward.
Obsessed with that.
I don't know where I got that from, but that's how I first read it. Like, oh, you passed out and you saw something weird here to just, like, ground you. Right. Take a swig of the whatever's in his flask.
God bless America. My final note is...
This is a long-ass episode.
It is, but you know what? Is my thing not recording right now? No, it is. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. I
Haley,
panicked.
I literally almost
I was
I
gonna
would have killed you.
cry. It was because I had the wrong window open.
Oh my
I was
god.
looking at the wrong window. Anyway,
Confused.
uh my last note is love the sibling moment of Sam being like, wah, wah, I don't believe in angels anymore, maybe. There is no higher power. But then Dean being like, no, it's okay. Maybe you're right. There are angels, and God could be real. Even though he does immediately backflip on that, like, but it's fine. It was like, it felt like a little supportive moment. It was pretty good. And that's my notes.
Cool. We already did lore library.
Mm-hmm. Uh, I don't have a crack shipping for this episode. I know, I'm sorry, everyone's really upset about it, but I don't.
I don't know. Fuck it. The priests?
Oh my
I
god, the
don't care.
priests! The priests together. Wow. Incredible.
Forbidden love.
Because he wanted to stay to make him happy. Oh my
Crazy.
gosh. Wow. The
Anyway.
priests. Today's episode is brought to you by... Taya, you go first.
Well, if I go, then you get okay. I'll do Knocking on Heaven's Door by Bob Dylan.
Taya,
You should have gone first.
down. Well, today's episode is also brought to you by Down on Love by Jamie Dunlap.
You had the chance to go first, you just didn't.
Yeah, but I thought I would be kind. And then our favorite Wikipedia page entry today. Taya, take it away.
Sure. This episode establishes that Dean does not believe in a higher power, while Sam does. This is touched upon again in Are You There, God? It's Me, Dean Winchester, and subsequent Season 4 episodes. Ironically, Season 4 sees Dean saved by angels and become important to them, whereas Sam is viewed as an abomination by angels due to his links to demons and Lucifer.
So fun.
Which I was telling Haley I think is so sad.
Yeah. It's definitely
I just think
not
it's
good.
so sad. One, because the reason Dean doesn't believe in God and angels is sad, because it has to do with his mom.
Right.
But more so, I feel so bad for Sam, because the whole demon blood thing, that's not his fault.
It's literally
That's
not on
his
him
fault
at
at all.
all.
And not only is that not his fault, his link to Lucifer is like the least fault of his, since didn't the angels literally conspire
Yes!
to have Sam and Dean born from Mary and John Winchester to become the vessels? I just think it's very sad that Sam has this genuine belief in God and in angels, and they went, ooh, not you.
Yeah. They were we don't want you to believe in us.
I think if you're looking at that from a place of faith, it's kind of heartbreaking.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just so brutal to me to believe in something so much and for them to reject you because of things that are not your fault.
Yeah.
And things that frankly that are their fault.
Right.
That's on the angels.
That's
So-
literally on you guys. But
Yeah, it's literally on you guys. I feel like there could be some sort of metaphor here for something else of I don't know, whatever. I'm thinking my brain is melting out of my ears.
Right,
We've been
right.
doing this for an hour.
we were doing this technically for 2 hours. My favorite Wikipedia page entry note thing is under trivia. The church that serves as Our Lady of the Angels is St. Andrew's Wesley United Church, it is in Canada, because of course it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to talk about the fact that they had a website linked, and I clicked on the website, and I think that the website is set up really fun. I like it. I like the fonts they use. And also, they support the gays, which is always fun.
Oh, the steps that the priest died on are now rainbow colored.
Yeah, there's a whole section about LGBT affirming. So
That's wonderful.
yeah, we love that. We love a supportive faith institution. Yeah. Oh, sorry. I'm looking at
What?
the website. I'm looking at the website a little bit more. I scrolled down and I saw this. It's talking
That's
about
Oh, okay.
it being built on native land.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, good for them.
Good for
Sorry
them.
you guys were in Supernatural.
Sorry, guys.
I hope that they paid you well.
Yeah, I hope you made good money. Do you still make good money?
It's a church. Well, I mean, I guess technically,
They
well,
get donations.
I don't know anything about Canada.
Oh my god, that's true. I don't either.
We don't know anything about Canada. We're gonna drop
Canada,
that.
do your churches take donations? Just wondering.
And
I will not be
yeah.
donating, but curious. Would you like to know my rating?
I would love to know your rating.
So today I've rated this episode 8.5 ghosts out of 10.
Wow, that's high.
I liked this episode. It went nice, and I feel like there was a lot to be talked about. There were some moments that, like,
clearly,
yeah, there was some moments that, like, could have been better, but it's Supernatural, and it's not all going to be hit ever. So this, for me, this episode ties with Something Wicked This Way Comes from season 1.
Damn. Mm-hmm. All right, so on IMDb, this episode has a 7.9 out of 10, meaning that you have rated it higher.
Whoa! Has that ever happened?
I think maybe a few times. I think that the Playthings we rated higher. I think we rated Playthings a lot higher.
I did rate that 10.
Yeah.
That was my first 10.
Most of these are pretty... a lot of these reviews talk about, like, the faith aspect, because that's a big one in this one. This one does say it's a good episode, but if you want to skip it, you won't miss out on much of the story arc, which is true. It doesn't tie in, like...
That is true.
It's definitely... It builds some personality for the boys, but it's not...
It's an establishing episode, for sure.
Yeah.
Not a story episode.
This one says that Dean was hilarious in his lack of faith.
That's definitely a word to use. Simply, I don't know if I use the word... Like, I mean, I did talk about how I liked his humor when he's talking about it. Mm-hmm. But hilarious is a bit of a strong word, I think, personally.
Mm-hmm. This one says, we guffawed and cried along with the boys every step of the way on this episode, and I am happy to call myself supernaturally obsessed.
Stop. I have to go.
This one says this, like the movie Pulp Fiction, Dean has a question of faith. A freak occurrence or an act of God? The ending asks the faith question. I've never seen Pulp Fiction.
Nor have I.
Cool. This one is literally just called Angels. It's an 8 out of 10. It's from Shweta Fab M. Our friend Shweta again.
Oh my god, Shweta.
It says, before the series even knew if they would introduce angels in season 4, we have this ep. Dean is the skeptic and Sam is hopeful. There is some good out and not evil. I will say that I do think at this point that they knew. I was of the belief that they had at least a rough idea of what the first 5 seasons were like before. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I believe that's always been my impression from what I've read, that the first 5 seasons they had an idea, and then after that they were winging it a little bit more. So I do think that they knew that angels were going to come back.
Okay.
And then this one is confused. They didn't actually give a star rating. It's from July 3rd, 2022, from Sherlock Holmes, which I believe is a play on Sherlock Holmes. Wait, so this ghost priest can see wrongs that people have done and are going to do, and instead of convincing him that, hey, instead of us also committing murder, maybe just tell us all the stuff and we'll lock them up, have you also just appear to the police and stuff. Like with all the actual evil in the universe is this show, it doesn't really make sense to get rid of something that wants to do good. They didn't really know how to end it, so they just kind of went with the whole bad guy dies by accident sort of thing. Breeds an unhealthy view in people of the real world that we don't have to pursue or punish bad people because they will get their own in the end. They also tried to explain as if God exists by the death in the end. I've seen that death in way too many shows and movies for it to have a meaningful impact on me. I think it would have made a much more interesting story if they had to choose whether to send him on and decided not to because he was doing good.
That was a lot of words that you said.
Yes. So basically this person is saying that, one, they don't know why this priest is having people kill people instead of go to the police. I assume, if we have to assume things about this show, there is a lack of evidence. Right. I assume. But I would also argue Sam and Dean quickly found that evidence. Right. So that is a fair point. But also, this guy thinks he's an angel and is clearly a little bit misled. I think that this is before that they have talked about spirits hanging around is a bad thing.
Yes, because I don't...
Okay.
I'm gonna be
I don't
real,
know if they touch on it until Bobby.
I was gonna say, I don't think they talk about that until, sorry, spoiler, Bobby dies.
Yeah.
Because they're like, Bobby, you need to go or you're gonna be evil. And Bobby's like, I'm not gonna be evil. And then he, like, punches something or something. I don't know.
Well, I don't even think it's necessarily that. I think Sam realizes that Dean still has Bobby's flask. And Sam is telling Dean that he has to get rid of it. And Dean doesn't want to.
Yeah.
And then Bobby is, like, agreeing, but then he, like, kind of loses it.
Yeah.
Anyway. This is such a long episode.
We're having a great time.
Fair.
I'm having a great time.
Thank you so much for listening to our super long episode about many things. We are Hatrusa everywhere. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, follow, leave a review, share with your friends, and share with your family. These episodes are technically longer than a Supernatural episode, but then you don't have to watch Supernatural, so...
And you get to listen to us.
Win. You get to listen to us talk about other stuff.
Double win.
Double win. You can leave a rating if you're listening on Spotify. They have added in a rating system, so give us a 5. That would be super helpful. I will also be attempting to use the Twitter a tiny bit more. If anything, it will literally just be me sharing screenshots from the show that we think are funny. So, hey. Am I right?
Yeah. Hey, Taya.
Hey, Haley.
I have a question.
What's up?
You want to see some more of our main girlies? You want to see our girlies? Meg?
Dude, I would give anything for there to be a female character.
Well, guess what? We get 2 in the next episode.
That's amazing. They both die in the end.
Oh, no. Why'd you have to say that? Well, we'll catch you on the flip side.
Catch you on the flip side.